on to the NFC South. I'm typoing everywhere here. All right, the NFC South. Going to kick things off with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bucks this offseason made a head coaching change. They convinced Bruce Arians to come out of retirement. The quarterback whisperer, Bruce Arians. Hoping he can turn that magic on to Jameis Winston and turn him into the franchise quarterback the Bucs drafted him to be. So this offseason, they did lose some offensive guys. They lost backup / starting quarterback Ryan Fitzmagic. Lost defensive tackle Gerald McCoy. No, that's defense. I just said offensive weapons. Wide receiver Adam Humphries left in the offseason, and they traded Deshaun Jackson to the Eagles. They brought in wide receiver Bashad Perryman. He'll probably slot in as the number 3 wide receiver behind Mike Evans, who's just a dominant number 1 wide receiver, and Chris Godwin, going to be the number 2 wide receiver. I really think that this will probably be a pretty good breakout year for Godwin. So on Winston and Bruce Arians being the quarterback whisperer. So Bruce Arians he's gotten the best out of pretty much all the quarterbacks he's worked with. He worked with Big Ben when he was in Pittsburgh as the OC. He was the offensive coordinator in Cleveland. And early in Tim Couch's career, he had saw some of his better years, even behind a crappy offensive line. At one point, he was in Indianapolis working with Peyton Manning. And really, his most recent one was when he was in Arizona, really revived Carson Palmer's career. And also there was a year where Palmer was hurt, and they were using Drew Stanton and Skelton, I believe was the last name of another quarterback there. But they had a host of backup quarterbacks, and Bruce was able to get the best out of them in his offense. He's definitely got an aggressive style of offense. So with Winston, one issue he has struggled with was interceptions, which might continue under Bruce Arians. Again, a very aggressive style. In Carson Palmer's first year, he had an uptick in interceptions. Winston averages 14.5 interceptions throughout his career. And he throws only 22 touchdowns. Not a great pick to touchdown ratio. Again, I think you may see an uptick in interceptions. You'll definitely see an uptick in passing touchdowns this year from him. This is a contract year for Jameis Winston. He's in the 5th-year option of his rookie deal, and it's really he needs to perform this year if he wants to get that big money deal and prove that he is the franchise quarterback. Last year, Fitzpatrick started due to a suspension that Winston had. He had to earn his starting job back, then he lost it, and then he got it back again. It was just a real back-and-forth mess. That's not going to happen this year. He'll be the starter from day one. And I think Bruce Arians will definitely help improve the offense. So last year they were 3rd in total yards. They led the league in passing, but they were 29th in rushing. Yeah, maybe he shouldn't suck. Yeah, that might help. So they were 29th in rushing. I think the hope is that it will prove. You got Ronald Jones going into his 2nd year, Peyton Barber, I believe Andre Ellington. They brought Andre Ellington in as well. Bruce Arians guy from his days with the Cardinals. But they'll definitely still be one of the best passing offenses. Granted, it's can't improve when you're the best in the league, but they'll be at the top of passing. I think their big thing is they will improve as a rushing offense, and that'll definitely obviously help the offense overall. As I mentioned before, not only Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, they got O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate at tight end, 2 great offensive weapons there. Their biggest issue is defensively. Last season, they were 27th in total yards and 31st in points. Um, they did go heavy defensively in the draft. Their first 5 picks were all on the defensive end, highlighted really by in the first round taking Devin White, middle linebacker from LSU, to help hopefully bring that defense together and become a stud defense of the future. I don't think you're going to see that much improvement defensively this year. Just with all the young additions, new coaching staff. But maybe next year. I still have them going a decent 5-11 this year. Not great, but with a young team, it's not terrible, I guess. All right, on to the New Orleans Saints. So, Saints are coming off a year where they were robbed from a Super Bowl appearance on a pass interference no call, which was very heartbreaking. And then the year before that, they had the Minneapolis Miracle against the Vikings. It's been a rough run in the playoffs the last 2 years. And really, the Saints are just trying to put one more together to get another Lombardi trophy before Drew Brees hangs it up. So, they had a top 10 offense last year, and they really didn't lose much offensively. Where they did lose players, I think they replaced them with players that were as good, if not better, for the most part. They did lose Mark Ingram, but they brought in Latavius Murray. I think Latavius Murray will fill Mark Ingram's role just fine as the backup running back there with Alvin Kamara. Ben Watson left. Ben Watson wasn't really utilized much last year. They bring in Jared Cook. Jared Cook's coming off a year where he led the Raiders in receiving. I think that's a real upgrade at tight end there. Just another weapon for Drew Brees to use. Now, where I don't think they necessarily got better or may not have an equal replacement was their center, Max Unger, retired kind of unexpectedly. They brought in Nick Easton at center, and then in the second round, which was their first pick, they drafted Eric McCoy, center from Texas A&M, to help try and fill that role. So far, the depth chart's saying Eric McCoy is leading the way there. Definitely, one of the more, with that and left tackle, probably your two most important offensive line positions. But for the most part, they're kind of just relying on running it back offensively. They've been that close the last 2 years. Just need to take that extra step. Defensively, they struggled a little bit early, but in the second half, they were fantastic. I think they're gonna be able to continue that into 2019, and quite honestly, offensively, they have the offensive firepower to run with any team in the league. Even your teams that I think will have really good offenses this year, with like the Eagles, the Packers, the Chiefs. I think they can win a shootout against anybody, and I think they have a better defense than some of those other high-flying offensive teams. I have them going 13-3 and winning the division. All right. Going on to the Carolina Panthers. So last season, the Panthers got off to a hot start. They started the season 6-2, but they ended up finishing 7-9. And their lone win after that 6-2 start came in Week 17 when both the Panthers and the Saints were playing their backups. So, it's a W's a W, but it was a real struggle after Week 8 for the Panthers. Now, one of the concerns coming into the season is Cam Newton. He had his second shoulder surgery in 3 years. This one was more of a cleanup. The first one was the repair. This one was just a cleanup. Obviously, he's projected to start Week 1, not really have any shoulder issues. The issue with him came in preseason Game 3 when he suffered a mid-foot sprain. with, I believe, head coach Rivera is his last name. Forget his first. Ron Rivera. There we go. Came out today and said there's no doubt that he'll be ready week 1. They're really hoping to have, an uptick in offense. Christian McCaffrey was dominant last year as that bell cow running back. They got DJ Moore, wide receiver, coming in on his second year, and third-year wide receiver Curtis Samuel. Both expected to kind of break out at wide receiver. I know the big thing with Samuel is this is really, he didn't really play wide receiver until coming to the NFL. In college, he was that hybrid kind of running back wide receiver combo, kind of like he played at Ohio State under Urban Meyer. It was kind of that Percy Harvin role when Urban was down at Florida, but he seems to have transitioned well into that wide receiver role finally coming into year number 3. They were pretty middle of the pack defensively. They're definitely looking to improve. They added defensively in the first round, brought in edge rusher Brian Burns, addressed the offensive line in the second round. I think they're going to be. My feeling on the Panthers is kind of meh. Like, I don't think they're a bad team. I just don't think they're a good team. I don't think they're a good team. Nothing really gets me. Sorry. Nothing really gets me excited about the Panthers. I have them going 8-8 this year. Probably not the outcome they're hoping for. I guess it's probably 3-4 years now since they had that Super Bowl run. But 8-8, not great. Better than most. All right, to round out the division, the Atlanta Falcons. It's crazy to think that just 2 years ago, they were in the Super Bowl, or sorry, three years ago now, I guess, where they were in the Super Bowl, blowing a huge lead, but they've had some injury troubles since then that have really hindered them. Devontae Freeman, their starting running back, missed most of last year, and then defensively, they were just decimated on defense with injuries. I definitely expect their defense to improve. They were bottom of the league in most all categories last year. Really only one way to go but up at that point. They addressed defense a little bit in free agency. Through the draft, they actually addressed the offensive line a lot. But the offensive line has looked shaky in the preseason. So not great there. The offense, even with a shaky offensive line, has been good in the past. You got Julio Jones, you had Calvin Ridley. If you get a healthy season from a Devonta Freeman, I don't know. I think they'll be decent offensively. That offensive line will probably hold them back a little bit. And that with the defense, I don't think they'll drastically improve. Obviously, staying healthy will help, but I don't see a huge change there defensively. And I have the Falcons going 6-10.